So after our oil change video, we got lots of comments from people asking about a video to show how to change the spark plugs. And I thought, to be honest, that's ludicrous. It's spark plugs in a sewing machine. How hard could it be? But after having to dig into this last season, as I drive this thing like a grandpa and our plugs are fouling up, it was a real hard start situation, I realized why you're asking. Back in the woods, we had a terrible year for mice, and I figured there's probably a mouse nest in this thing. So I'll take that as a reason to tear this thing apart and show you where to get the spark plugs. And sure enough, look at that, right on top of the airbox, a whole bunch of mouse droppings. So either the airbox is full, there's a nest in here someplace. So the first step is to remove the two-up seat, or the back half of the single seat, if that's how your model is. And basically you need a number 10 socket. There's a bolt on either side of the seat facing outward, and then a few bolts on the back panel here that you want to remove. So once you get these 4 10mm bolts out, and they're all the same size, so we're about mixing them up. Next step is to pull this back panel off just by pulling up and out. That'll expose these two mounting bolts for the two-up seat, and that's a 12mm bolt. That'll allow you to lift the seat up and out. And now you can go back to 10mm, and you can take these side panel covers off, which will allow you access to the bolts that hold the main driver's seat on. They're also the same size as those initial 4 bolts, so again, you don't have to worry about mixing them up. That's one bit of engineering that worked on this machine in the favor of the owner. Okay, so now the side panels will you gotta be careful to work around your basket so that you can slide them out, and they just pop out. The front half, there's just a small clip that holds in place. This one with the rear warmers has, of course, the switch. You can just let that hang on the side of your machine. So the next set of bolts to take out are these retention clips for the main seat. Now that they're exposed, they're a 12mm. There's just 2 of them on either side of the seat. So the front seat retainer bolts, these 12mm bolts, are exactly the same as the ones for the 2-up seat. So again, you don't have to worry about mixing them up. Next thing we're going to want to do is remove these side cowlings to get at the next set of bolts. We'll do that by lifting and turning these D-dents, pulling away from the grommets. So once you have the 4 bolts off of the cowling that covers the gas tank, it's almost ready to come up. First of all, you got to remember there's going to be wires attached to it at the key ignition and your 12-volt accessory port. So to remove this thing, you got to remove the gas cap, and then you're going to kind of lift up and work this gasket that's on the filler neck up and out of the threads. You got to be careful there's no debris so you don't knock it into your gas tank. You just kind of work it like this, it'll pop up, there you go. So next you kind of have to undo this quick connect assembly that goes to your ignition, and then on the other side there's a similar one, just a 2-wire that goes to the 12-volt accessory. The other thing you have to do is get these hood retention rubber straps out of the way. In the Army we call these LBRTs, little black rubber thingies. Of course you have to have initials for everything. So you just have to lift and feed them out of the hole. And then with this retention clip you just have to push the D-dent tab in here and pull the 2 pieces away, and it just connects just like that. So here is the 2-wire one for the 12-volt accessory. Again, you just have to push down on the little D-dent and work the 2 pieces separate away from each other. Just like that. Now the gas tank cowling is ready to just come away. So now that the gas can cowling's out of the way, that sits on the front of the seat, you're able to just lift the seat up and slide back. So what's retaining it there are these little retaining clips that slide into this hollow part underneath the gas tank. Again, there's some wires in the way, so you can just unhook them with the quick connects here and there. And those are the wires that go to the hand warmers for the passenger. Right. So by having the seat loosened off here, you get exposed the 2 bolts that hold the side cowl on. Again, back to the 10mm. Sorry, there's actually 3. There's another one down here. So the next step is to get the gas tank out of the way. So one of the first things you need to do is this fuel level sensor. You just have to unhook that. Again, it's just an electrical quick connect. You just push down, pull back, like that. Then you have the fuel supply line here. It has this red retainer clip. So what you have to do is simultaneously spread the clip and push it back. So before you go any further, put your gas cap back on, just make sure you get no debris in there. This is a better angle to show that retainer clip. So the first one, there's a little black overall that you want to take off. You just have to push it back across the hose and pull it away. And now you can see that there's these 2 kind of grapples almost of this retainer clip. So you have to simultaneously push the bottom one down and the top one up, and then push the red retainer away from yourself, and it just slides out to the edge like this. You don't have to go any further, and then the fuel line just comes up. So next, remove these 2 12mm bolts that hold the gas tank down on those studs. The front of the gas can is, or gas tank I should say, is actually just sort of held in place by these 2 rubber isolators. They just sort of slide into a slot in the frame. So once you get this tank loosened off on the back, you just have to lift it up and pull it back, and then you'll have access to the top end of the engine. There's also a couple washers that straddle that gas tank mounting point, so you're going to want to get those before you drop them. So up, and then just slide the tank back like this. Okay, top of the tank, you have this gas vent hose. You can just pop that off so you can slide the tank back further. So on the right hand side of the tank here, in the very front, there's another sensor, electrical sensor. So now that you pull the tank back as much as you could, now underneath the frame here you can see the quick connect. So you got to disconnect that. There's one more hose on the other side. But you're starting to see the end of this, because right in there is where the spark plug is. Finally. Just for point of reference, that quick connect is just behind the coolant bottle. So I'm just going to reach in there with a screwdriver. Hopefully disconnect this thing. Just like that. So back to the left hand side of the sled. Here's the primary clutch, just for reference. So just in front here we have this last fuel line that we're going to disconnect from this fitting, just by undoing this pressure clamp here. You could use some channel locks. I'm going to use some lineman pliers. That's usually what I use. Just reach in there, just push down the clamp, slide it forward off the fitting. And we're just going to wiggle that rubber hose loose, hopefully not break it. See how much fuel we can spill. Of course, I waited until I had a full tank of fuel to do this. Not too bad. All right, now we can remove the tank completely rearward here. So you have access to the spark plugs themselves. So now you have to remove these 2 10mm bolts to get to the actual spark plug itself. Man, there sure is a lot of mouse droppings in this engine bay. And look what I found under the exhaust. It's like a tail from one of my son's dinosaurs. It's all melted, so I guess it's been in there for a while. That'll explain a few smells I was smelling while driving. Anyway, so break these loose. And you can take the insulator caps off of the plugs. They're usually pretty tight because they're sealed pretty good. There. See how deep they go down to the spark plugs? So the spark plug wrench that you need is a 5/8. That's a standard that's a skinny in the 2 sets. The other sides, of course, being 13/16. All right, so with an extension, you can reach the spark plug. There you go. There's the spark plugs. See, these are a little bit fouled. Not too bad. And reassembly is the reverse. So good luck with all those parts. I hope this helps. I know I understand a little bit better now why people wanted this video.